What up? This is Rama Screen, and it's time for another celeb interview. And in the anticipation of Gun and a Hotel Bible, which arrives January 5, I'm here talking with the writers and the stars of this new film, Bradley Gosnell and Daniel Floren. How are you, Bradley and Daniel?
We're doing
Doing
really
good,
good.
man.
Good to talk to you, Rama.
Excellent. Thank you for taking the time. Um, I'm gonna cut to the chase here. One of the many things that fascinates me about this film and about your performances are the back and forth between your characters, right? And both Pete and Gideon have extensive knowledge of the Bible. They're throwing verses and chapters at each other to rationalize their arguments. So that's just impressive. I mean, are you both Bible scholars? How extensive is your research into the Bible in the process of writing this story?
That's a good question. We're both expert Googlers, is what we are, and we have some familiarity with the communities of faith and that kind of stuff. So there's certainly some stuff that we get for free walking into it. But there was a lot of building up, trying to find the what we felt like were the strongest arguments we could build on behalf of each character to represent these points of view.
Yeah, I'm not a Bible scholar by any means. We're artists who found a dramatic situation, and yeah, some of that came for free, and that Dan and I both sort of grew up in faith communities, as it were. Um, but yeah, translating what we knew, what we experienced to trying to write a personified Bible, and then as you said, writing a character in Pete who also has a justified relationship to the Bible really well. So we sort of had to create the backstory to justify why this guy knows and thinks what he thinks and knows. And so for both characters there was a good deal of work put in trying to protect how we represent something that's really vast and really important to a lot of people.
Oh man, yeah, it's like a prize fight or a boxing match. I loved it, and I may be getting ahead of myself here. So take me back to the beginning. What inspired you guys to come up with this story? Where were you? What were you doing when you guys came up with this idea?
Uh, so Dan and I, we've known each other for 10 years now. We've been doing improv and acting and writing together for a while, which is amazing. And one of the things that we've talked about was the Beatles, and Dan was not a fan of the Beatles when we met, but I have shepherded him through that process. And one of my favorite Beatles songs is a song called Rocky Raccoon, which the chorus goes, Rocky Raccoon checked into a room only to find Gideon's Bible. And I thought that was a dramatic situation for a guy to check into a room with a gun and to come face to face with the Bible. So I approached Dan at a Panera Bread. I'm glad you asked where, because that's so important to the story. And I pitched him on doing a two-person play about a guy meeting a Bible. And Dan was initially not on board with it.
Yes, I was when he pitched it originally. I wasn't sure what it would be like, and I was kind of like, I just don't want to have to say some grand thing about the Bible, and I don't know. I didn't want to make it a sermon in one way or another, saying something about the Bible, anyways. And so Bradley's like, no, I just think it's interesting. I think it's a fun, dramatic situation that's really interesting. And so he convinced me, and we started the process of fleshing out who are these characters, and how can we make the best possible vinegar and baking soda to explode together in a room.
Did you guys get permission from Gideon's International, the organization that puts all those Bibles in hotels?
We did not, nor did we get permission from Paul McCartney to use his song. So we figured if someone sues us, we're doing something right. So until then, we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, so we tried to change enough things that we felt really conscionable, that we're taking and giving new life to, as opposed to stealing or adulterating.
And we did a Q&A afterwards, which is amazing. And a lot of fun. And we met someone who said he works for Gideon International. And we got real nervous because we were up on stage in front of everyone doing this talk back. And he's like, I work for Gideon International. And I don't think anything necessarily came of it. I think he enjoyed the play. So it was a good performance, I guess. I guess we nailed that one.
Daniel, as a Bible personified, what was your process of embodying this character, Gideon? Because time and time again, this film emphasizes and re-emphasizes that he's only the Word of God. He's not God. And but like a defense attorney in a courtroom, Gideon persistently makes his case. How did you get into the mindset of Gideon?
That's a great question. I think there's a lot of things that we drew from writing it that played into how the choices that I made in acting it. Um, and but I think the thing that was most crucial, Alicia LeBlanc, our director, really helped shape the performances. And one of the things that she helped me in discovery with was the idea that the Bibles that are placed in hotels and motels are tools that Christians put there to encourage and help and spread the message. And so as this Bible, the thing that he wants to do more than anything is to do that, to encourage someone and to spread the message and to just have a great moment with a real human being. And no one ever takes him out of his drawer. And so there's kind of this mix of like an eagerness, like a chipper eagerness to do this purpose that he knows he's built for, and a complete stonewall for like nothing's happening and he's so bored sitting in this room. And so I think those things really wove together to help propel the propel through all of the argumentation and language and all of those kinds of things that are part of the conflict and conversation, but the heart of it being like, I just really want to help someone, of this little guy who's stuck in a drawer.
And Bradley, Pete seems to me like a guy who's been beaten down by life and broken relationship, and it's hard, man, to change his mind when he's set on it. I mean, how would you describe Pete? And is there saving Pete, or is he too far gone?
Well, that's a really good question. I think, to some degree, well, let's see. As an audience, you don't want to say that anyone's too far gone. As the actor playing the role, you sort of have to put yourself in these dramatic situations, and you want to raise the stakes as much as you can. So as an actor, I think there are moments where it felt like, you know Pete could have gotten close, or Pete was on the way there, but unfortunately the conversation gets interrupted. As when we were writing it, we really wanted the audience to feel like, if you gave these characters 5 more minutes in the room together, that not necessarily that Pete would have been saved, but that they would have kind of walked off the ledge a little bit. And so through some circumstance that Pete doesn't really get that chance. Yeah, he's someone who was burned by religion, and sort of what the promises of that were, and what his expectations were, and how those were and weren't met. And instead of really reckoning with that and drawing closer to that conflict, he just sort of replaced it with someone else. And when that person let him down, he was at the end of his rope, and that would have just kept happening and happening and happening. Him um, you know, putting things in the place of, uh, you know, the religion, essentially. What am I worshiping? Um, and and so, yeah, I think it was a process of that, of trying to find what's this guy worshiping, what's this guy relying on, and at the end of the day, he's not a straw man either. He has good points, he has real experiences, and anyone who's spent a lot of time, you know, with the Bible would probably, well, I don't want to say anyone, but there are, all these points in the Bible where it feels like there's some friction between ideas, because it is so complex, and because it is so, at the center of Christianity, that it warrants questioning. Um, and so, yeah, I forgot the question, but
That's
that's sort of Pete's thing. I think for an audience who might relate with Pete, um, that could be anyone who is trying to understand what it's like to reckon with the stories that you grew up with, and know that some of them came from your surroundings, some of them came from necessity, some of them came from genuine truth, and that those can intermingle and overlap in really strange ways, and those things can be hard to understand. And when put in a dramatic situation like we try to throw Pete into, um, reckoning that can be a really emotional process. And I think that's one of the things that makes Pete a relatable character, is not that he can be saved or they can't be saved, but that he's going through this very human process of, you know, what are the stories that I know and why, essentially.
Let me follow up on that, Bradley. So, what was it like working with your dad on this project? And do you aspire to someday become a director like Raja?
Oh man, I should be so lucky to become like Raja. It was a dream come true. Um, yeah, it was great, man. You know, my dad has been seeing all of my shows ever. So I like to think that it was my performance as the Tin Man that really won him over. Um, but uh, but yeah, it was really cool. You know, I've sort of grown up in the biz, and I've sort of always seen what he's been doing at afar, and he's included me in some of that. But it's always sort of been like, you know, his show. And when he and my mom saw Gun to Hotel Bible for Dan and I, they'd seen so many of our projects before, and so when they approached us and said we want to film it, it was really surprising and it was really nerve wracking. I think at first, um, because it was somewhat actualized in a way that you know you sort of have to parse out. You know, you want to work well, you want to do your best, and you know that is amplified by it being your dad and it being, you know, his business. Um, you know, I think as a director, I fit better in theater. I love directing theater. I've directed a few plays over the course of, you know, my Hollywood experience, and those have been really really exciting. I don't know that I have the cinematography language to follow him into directing on film, although you know, as I just sort of do what's in front of me. So in the world that we are right now, you know, we're all on Zoom, we're doing distance stuff. My knowledge of lighting and lenses as I try to put on some productions is definitely growing. So I guess we'll see. But it was amazing to work with him, and I continue to learn a lot from him every day, both as a director and as an artist in general.
All right. Um, I gotta ask one more how question because the rhythm of your character's fast-paced dialogue is astounding. I thought I was watching an Aaron Sorkin movie. And where
Wow. Oh my gosh. Can I quote you on that? You could not have
exactly
given a higher compliment.
it is a compliment, and it's so precise. How did you guys do that? How many rehearsals did you guys do until you managed to make that like look like a muscle memory?
A lot, I
A
guess.
lot. That's a great question. It took a lot of passes. It's a great question. And I feel like some of it came simply from the nature of being in on stage. It's one scene. It's
Hmm.
an hour-long scene. That's a long
Yeah.
scene. And so to keep that move, it's all got to the dialogue has got to keep flowing. You don't get to like lights down, go off stage, take a break, lights back up and come back. You know what I mean? It's always going. So any breaks and breaths that you take have to be live. And if it's gonna if the energy is gonna up, it's got to be live. And Alicia, actually, we originally came to Alicia LeBlanc, our director, for writing notes because she's an amazing writer. She's really good at everything. So somebody hire her again to do more things. She's amazing. So as she, you know, she kind of helped in the process of shaping and really making it so it could flow from one thing to the next. And every night before we would do the play, we would sitting in the living room, but speak through the entire play just so that the lines were in our head, because and then we would go do the play, because once you're out on stage you don't get to check the script. Like, you're there, you got to figure it out. So I think a lot of it was rehearsal and a lot of it was just drafting and Alicia's kind of guiding in the process. That's
I think it was somewhat of a creature of necessity. When we were doing the Fringe project, we had to load in and load out at a certain time and do our show. So there was rehearsals where we like in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon on Hollywood, we'd be on the side with all of our props and all of our set. We hit go and we'd all run in there and unload everything and do the wirings and make sure sound was there. And then we time it and go, okay, we got to get faster. So the whole show was clockwork, because we had to get out, you know, at the right time. And so part of that process was making sure that we took the moment to get into the actor space after being, you know, the set crew, and then being able to stay in that space while being really consistent. I think, like, as long as you ran the show, we ended the show. The show was always like within a minute and a half of
47 minutes.
47. Yeah, exactly. So like we were pretty consistent with the end, and we would check in every night and go like, wow, like we're coming in like 30 seconds of difference from week to week. So
Wow.
we really knew it well. It really was a song and a dance. And that really helped us when we took the show to film, because we essentially filmed it in 5 days. It was a rapid shoot schedule, and it was essentially sort of throwing us on a set and saying we're going to get 4 pages at a time. And so for Dan and I, we're going to pick it up in this middle of the conversation. There are no blackouts, there are no transitions. This needs to flow from the next thing and the first thing, and we got to like know where we're at and be able to knock out these takes. So it felt like every situation we were in was a situation that required us to be really off book and really consistent. And luckily enough, we had the drive and the stamina and really the teamwork to get that done. You can't this isn't a show where you can like go learn your lines and then be ready to perform. It really took us being in the same room together, understanding each other and working together, which is what made the show a special experience for me.
Thank you for sharing that. I interviewed Raja and Alicia earlier this morning, both of whom told me that right after the stage plays, there will be people staying outside having conversations about what they just seen and about the themes of Gun and a Hotel Bible. I grew up in a conservative Christian family, though I'm not religious anymore, but the topics that this film brought up are familiar to me. What do
Mm.
you think Gun and a Hotel Bible wants to convey? And does it only resonate only for people who have Christian background, or can it also ring true for people who never picked up the Bible in their entire life?
I My hope, I would say, is that people love the movie, and that the takeaway would be a desire to engage respectfully in sensitive conversations with the people that they love and trust. That people feel like, if whatever background you're from, especially in regards to Christianity, that they've had parts of what they believe represented on screen and parts of what they believe challenged. And that would be for whether you're a Christian, whether you hate God, whether you have no opinion whatsoever. Just that, like, there's things that are represented and things that feel challenged, and that all of that is good soil in which to have even-handed, respectful conversations that don't feel like anyone has to win or kind of browbeat each other. I feel like that's my hope.
Yeah, I'd say, as we wrote the play, we really wanted our characters to battle and to, preach at each other in a way, but we never, as writers, wanted to feel like we were preaching at the audience. And we had a couple of shows where we had friends. One was a Christian, one was not a Christian, and we could hear them in the audience going like, "That's right, no, that's right." Like they were kind of keeping score along with us. And so I think that there's room for everyone in this show. When we had conversations with people who said, this is the conversation I want to have with my parents, that don't understand why I'm no longer in a faith community. Or this is a conversation that I've been dying to have, or that didn't go very well. And hearing the language that you use sort of helps contextualize it. And we've had people who have, sort of gone through that process by using these characters as an example, by saying, well, when Pete felt this, yada, 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 or I can relate to how Gid said that. And so even just sort of having these characters as stand-ins can, I think, help, get someone one step closer to understanding, what they believe and how they process that. And, I think that's an important step, regardless on where you land. You
Yeah.
should know where you believe and why you believe it.
And to me,
Oh,
like, in that way, it's my hope would be that it is not just for people with a Christian background, but also but particularly for people that like a movie with faith as its subject matter, that isn't just for people who have faith at the center of their lives.
mhm.
It's a movie for people who like have lots of questions and like lots of complaints and are not looking to get preached at, but maybe looking to preach back at people in faith communities, that it's by design, hopefully, for a movie that has a wide appeal.
All right. Everybody, for my fans at home, go check out Gun and a Hotel Bible, which arrives January 5. Bradley and Daniel, thank you for talking to me, and congratulations.
Thank you, Rama. Great to meet you.